Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome to what was a very interesting session on Gran Turismo 7. We had a race at Suzuka with two GT500 cars pitted against each other, the Supra and the Nissan GTR. I've gone for the Supra, and this turned out to be a very incredibly frustrating session for many reasons, which we will go over. Now, this first race, we're going to jump out into qualifying. And my first lap here, let's take a look, shall we? How is this going to be? It's going to be a 59.8, nothing remarkable. I need to be into the low 59s. And I was on lap 3 and 4, 59.1. But still, I think I could go slightly quicker than that, perhaps into the 58s even. And on this lap, as you can see, I was slightly up. I was pushing hard. I was looking at improvement. Here in the middle sector, tricky Degner 1. Got to get that one dead right. Very easy to get wrong. I suppose you've got to get them all dead right, really, haven't you? That's the idea. And you can see here, 4 tenths up near enough on the second split of the lap. So this lap's going to plan. Pole position at the moment is just over half a second ahead. I'm in P8. And at the third split, more than half a second up. So this could be a pole position. And, well, this is Exhibit A of bottling. You can see it here. The classic 1 pixel beyond the track limit. And, you know, there it is. Confirmation that I am a huge bottle job. Cross the line. And, unfortunately, I mean, it's a 58.7. It's a good lap. But I did cut a corner. So it doesn't count. We're going to jump into this first race, therefore. You see here, guys, first and second. I should have been about here, maybe, with a 58.7. Third or fourth, this kind of area. But instead, I'm back here in my pink machine. There it is, with a 59.1. Way back in 9th. But let's see what we can do from here. I felt as though my qualifying position did not reflect my pace. So, therefore, I think from here could potentially move forward a couple of positions. Now, this race was quite tricky because it's a 14 lap around Suzuka race, and I mean, you can pit if you want, but it's going to be one of those races where you have to really manage your tyres to the end. And that's what made it quite tricky, trying to manage the tyres whilst overtaking as many cars as possible. On this lap here, you see I was very close behind this guy. In fact, probably too close, because I couldn't really get any momentum to go past him. And you see that clearly didn't really work, having to stay in P9. That was the beginning of lap number 3. And then that was my first overtake there. Someone making a mistake, dropping down the order. And then finally I was able to get a good run here, as you can see on the exit of Degner 2, going up towards the hairpin. I didn't really cover it off. So I thought, okay, I'm going to send it up the inside, let on the brakes. And it's a beautiful overtake. Incredible scenes here. And that is P7, eventually catching up with P6. 6th place, well within sight. Can we get this move done here? I got a very good exit there, off of the final chicane. And you can see here, going to tuck into the slipstream as much as possible. And pull out at the last moment to maximise the speed. You see I'm not really there. Well, I am kind of, and he gives me the space, thankfully. And I move up into P6, my natural habitat. Incredible scenes. But we're taking another look here at P5. As, yes, I did the thing again. I did the annoying thing again, where you drive very stupidly and get a penalty. And upon serving it, I surrendered P6 and became P7. But I wasn't done there, as we had this German guy who, I think he was 2nd or 3rd at the time, had some sort of crash, and he didn't defend into turn 2, so I thought, okay, I'll take it. Thank you very much, mate. I'll take P6 back off of your hands. And then this is where the race unravelled, because coming through here, just dropping 2 wheels wide onto the AstroTurf, and boom, you're facing your best friend, Barrier. Not a place you want to be, really. So upon recovering, I was in 11th, then very quickly 12th. My car was damaged, so I couldn't really muster much speed at this point. Eventually this German had another mistake in his locker, and he used it to great effect. And you see here, my tyres were dying of death. Bono, my tyres are gone. And as a result, as you can see, a distinct lack of ability to turn the car, which isn't helpful. And coming through the hairpin, taking approximately 5 working days to get through there. You see the Irishman having a horrific time on the exit of the hairpin. And I go past a pair of them, and I thought, okay, maybe I can just salvage a P10 here. It wasn't really going to work. Coming through here, I just drive wide because I've got no grip at all on that front right tyre. The Irishman slows down, lets me go back through, but I don't really think it was his fault. I just drove wide because I had no grip. And then this German slows down and lets me back through. It was really weird. It was like we all felt really sorry for each other because we just all drove so badly. And there we are, P10 ultimately. I started P9, so I've lost one. But that was a race of what could have been. We're going to jump into the next one, the 5 o'clock slot, and see what we can do here, which is, well, immediately get a penalty, which is really stupid because it ruins my next lap. As you can see, I had to serve the penalty on the following lap. That's the really annoying thing about that. So just bottling this race left, right and centre, and yeah, kicking off this qualifying session in fine form with an immediate penalty. Is that going to be a penalty as well? It looks like it is. And let's see, is it? Yes, it is. Classic Super GT, and it was a 58.6, which was again a good lap, but I just couldn't string it together, and unfortunately that penalty ruined my next lap. So yeah, I was just driving just like an absolute fill in the blank. Wasn't good. Wasn't for pretty viewing, it must be said. This was my final lap, driving the narrower line to the finish line. It's a 50, what was that, 58.8? Something like that. But it only put me P9, as you can see. No, P10. Correction, P10. So, this lobby was a bit tougher. There were some better drivers in this one, I would have said. And the pace in general was higher. The Frenchman, though, was driving off onto the grass for a bit. Just fancied something a bit different, you know? Why not? So I take P9 and then boom. You see there? Yeah, suddenly someone just disappears. Presumably abducted by aliens. I mean, he probably just disconnected. You know, but I'm just going to say he got abducted by an alien. Because I guess you can't prove that he didn't. So I'm just going to go with that theory. So coming through 130R, and the Spaniard drives very wide and then brakes quite early, perhaps conscious of dirty tyres. So I take P7. So okay, we've gained a couple of positions here through mistakes and alien abductions. I'm up into 7th from 10th. That was a clever bit of editing there. I've skipped forward, setting the fastest lap of the race, and then the group in front started fighting. As you can see, the Greek driver driving wide over the Astro, and I wasn't able to take advantage of that, so I had to remain in P7. But at least I was in this battle for 4th. That was a good thing. I was for a bit anyway, before they began to just pull away a bit on these couple of laps here. But then they threw me a bone here because they started fighting on lap 7 going into the chicane. And as a result of that, you can see just how much I pull back into the slipstream of the Greek driver. So end of lap 8, he drives very wide. He's going to take a nice line though. He can kind of recover, and I'm not able to take advantage of that. But what I can do is try to get a better exit here with a better angle. And as you can see, I'm able to get a run on the exit of the corner onto the main straight, get on the right hand side, and then firmly pull in before we even get to turn 1. So that was a nice little overtake there. Up into P6. Looking at P5 and P4, not too far ahead, but it was very difficult to gain time on this race. It was very, very tricky indeed. It was quite a static race until that moment there. You see the German just making that classic error of getting the 2 wheels onto the Astro. It pulls you wide, and then before you know it, you're losing positions, you're tumbling down the order. Now at the end of the race, I once again kind of mismanaged my tyre wear. You can see here through the long left-hander of which there are quite a few here at Suzuka, the car just didn't really want to turn. It basically saying, no thank you mate, can you just drive only in a straight line? It didn't mind straights. The left-handers, he didn't want to know. Thankfully I had just enough of a gap, I think, to the guy behind who made his own mistake through 130R. But this was the issue with this race. I was just perhaps driving a bit too hard, putting too much effort through the front tyres. And by the end of the race I was suffering. As you can see here, it was quite close, but luckily I managed to cross the line in P5, which is not a bad result. Starting P10, and you know, at best it might have been a P4. 269 points for that race, which isn't too bad. Anything approaching 300 points is quite good for me. But we jump into the third slot. I perhaps could have just left it there, but I felt like there wasn't enough content from those first two races, so I was going to go again. So for this one, I was just hoping that we could pause it there, with me on pole position. Unfortunately, I do not have the ability to pause time, therefore we had to continue. Now on this lap, things were going quite well. I was on a good lap, but unfortunately I just caught up with this back marker, or a slower driver you could say, at the wrong kind of time, as I was quarter of a second up on the purple lap, and so I was heading for improvement, but you can see there just an awkward moment where he was holding up the lap. I kind of had to go for the move, and then I got the penalty going for the move, and yes, unfortunately it was a 58.9. It was a penalty anyway, so it didn't count that lap. And yeah, that could have been a 58.7, which would have put me on pole position. Then I messed up my next lap, but I ended up P4, as you can see. And the frustrating thing about these rolling starts in Gran Turismo, and it shows you why qualifying is so important, is you see already how far behind you start compared to the leader. So you have quite a lot of work to do to just get back, to catch back up with the leader. But then there's this really weird moment here on lap 4 between second and third. I managed to capitalise, getting one position. Could we try and get two here? It's going to be a drag race between the two of us down the main straight. And you can see here I've just got the run, but I'm on the outside. So this is going to be quite an interesting and sketchy moment into turn 1. And I decide to back out. I'm on the outside, look for the return move. The old switcheroo, couldn't quite make it work, so I have to settle for P3. I've still gained a position though, it's not too bad. And then lap number 5 coming through 130R, very close now to P2. He gets quite a poor run through there, must be said. Covers the inside, he's aware that he was slow, and then this is the moment unfortunately where the race unravels. We receive contact from behind the Portuguese driver, and boom, we spun around. Just an unfortunate moment, because I think I was going for a switchback, and the guy behind didn't really anticipate that movement, because I perhaps could have gone around the outside there, but I tried to slow the car down to get a better run on the exit of the left, and it looked deliberate, and I was annoyed at the time, but I think it's more of a racing incident overall. Marginally his fault, but I don't know, let's just say racing incident. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, let's put it that way. I overtook that guy, did this again, made my classic signature move, basically getting a penalty by 1 pixel. I love doing that. It's really, really fun doing that. So I set the fastest lap of the race there. I don't know what it was about being spun around, but I just unleashed the beast and got fastest lap I've ever done in the race, 59.2. Serving the penalty, almost surrendering P6, but not quite. And so even though we had that accident and I lost a few positions, this race is still somewhat salvageable from here. It's not completely over, as frustrated as I was at the time. And you can see at lap number 10 there was a yellow flag going into the first corner, and we find ourselves a Portuguese driver having a nice little chat with Barry R, which isn't an appropriate time really during a race. I'd say at least finish the race first, then chat to Barry, but each to their own. Now, end of lap number 11, I was approaching the Hungarian driver here in P4. P4 would not have been too bad of a result. I think that P2 would have been very much possible in this race, given that I was all over him at the moment of the incident. but a P4 result would not be, you know, a complete disaster. It's where we started the race after all. So through 130R, he just moves to the left. He doesn't really make any attempt to cover the inside into the chicane. So I thought, okay, thank you very much. I will take that invitation and take your position. And that was that pretty much, because one lap later, end of lap 14, I didn't actually suffer from any tyre wear issues on this race at the end of the race, and finished it in P4. Fastest lap, clean race, P4, not too bad, but it was a slightly weaker lobby, so 255 points that time around. And me being me, I decided to do the final race. Again, I probably could have just left it there with 255 points, but I just wanted a really good race. But it was kind of frustrating. This race was so static and it wasn't producing much drama. So I just had to go again. Now in this one, I started quite well in qualifying, 58.8. But that's about as good as it got, really. Because here on lap number 4, I was just pushing a bit too much, made that mistake, car squirmed wide, and then boom. Hello, Barry, once again. Good to see you. But I ended up P6 on the grid, as you can see. And yeah, I think P6 was about right. I maybe could have got P4 if I hooked together a slightly better lap, but I didn't. So I'm not there. I'm in P6 because that's what happened. So we start the race in P6, and it wasn't actually very long before I was up into P5, because we can take a look at our Finnish friend here, and he unfortunately has a little bit of a moment, and as you can see, exits stage right and has a perpendicular meeting with the wall, which was quite something, must be said, and he really did achieve some insane angles there. And it wasn't much better for this Spaniard either, as he had a horrific time through Degner 2. Now, I'd love to say that this race really got exciting from this point, and I managed to catch up with third, overtake him, then catch up with second and overtake him, then win the race like the absolute GOAT. But that's not what happened, because I just kind of got stuck in this rut behind them, never really making an impression. And then I drove the car too hard, and as you can see, struggling with tyre wear once again. So in 3 out of 4 attempts of this race, I didn't quite make it to the end in terms of tyre wear. So it kind of shows you one of my inherent weaknesses, overworking the tyres. But we finished it in P4, didn't lose a position as a result of that. And yeah, there you go, P4. Not much to be said about that race really, other than that dramatic crash from the Finnish driver. And we got ourselves 277 points, so it was a slight improvement. It was the best amount of points I got out of the 4 attempts, so we ended on a slight high. And it was just a very weird video for me to edit. I didn't really know how to edit this one because, again, as I said just a moment ago, not too much happened in each race. I really wanted, you know, there to be a bit more drama or something. I kind of struggled how to really edit this one, but I think it kind of shows you, you know, sometimes you play the game. I played for 4 hours and not much happened. It was quite frustrating in that sense. But that's just the life of a Gran Turismo 7 YouTuber. Sometimes you play the game, nothing happens, and then you kind of just have to make the video good by talking a load of nonsense. I think that sums this video up quite nicely. But I do appreciate that you have made it all the way to the end of this video. So it must have been quite good nonsense talking that I was doing. But ultimately, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, or night if you are watching this to fall asleep. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, get yourself subbed, of course. And I shall see you next time. Goodbye.